aim. Oh, yeah, it's there. Okay, the ball's here. So then, hello, my lovely, lovely audience. Welcome to another video. Anyway, I don't have much to say in this what if, aside from Deku's quirk as a movie reference. Guess the movie, your comment gets pinned. Anyway, yes, let's get into the what if now. A girl with white hair, red eyes, and a Victorian-style dress would be walking down a street. She would notice, a glow and walk forwards to it, seeing a boy with glowing blood impaled on a spike by the neck. Now, what do I mean by impaled on a spike? I mean impaled on a fence. You know those fences that are like spears from the early Victorian era? Yeah, he's impaled on one of those by the neck. Kinda looks like he jumped off a building. The girl, curious of why this happened, why he's like this, would hold his head and she would use one of her quirks. His memories would flash before her. Izuku would be born a happy, bumbling ball of joy. One day, his quirk would come in, making it so that his eyes and his hair and even his blood would glow. Now, yes, Inko would have taken him to the quirk doctors to find out what his quirk is, but they couldn't find anything. All that was apparent is it made him glow. And so, Bakugo would get his quirk and bully Deku. And bully him. And bully him. And Inko has just sort of stopped caring for him. She, doesn't want a kid with a useless quirk. How is he supposed to, do anything for her? So she would conceive another child. This time without Hisashi. Because, Hisashi, he gave her a child whose quirk is useless, so she shall get another man. A man by the name of Toshinori Yagi. They would have a child together, one who would be a prodigy in almost everything, one who would be skilled in almost everything. Anyway, yes, Deku would be almost entirely forgotten about. Now then, one particular day, the final day of middle school, he would wake up late and, get a beating for it. So bad that, both femurs in his legs would be broken. Well, not broken, more like splintered. His collarbone would be fully broken, and he would have a concussion because Inko came at him with a bat. She also busted his kneecaps. Anyway, that day, the teacher would come in, blah blah blah, application forms. I know you all want to be heroes, he would say with glee, and the class would erupt, showing off their quirks. Deku just waving his hair a bit. Anyway, the teacher would get a horrific grin on his face, a sadistic one, before saying, "Oh, look, we have 2 students that want to apply for UA. Would you look at that? Izuku Midoriya. The student at the back left corner of the class, over there, Izuku Midoriya. He lives at bleep!" Like, he would say his entire home address and email. Oh, his phone number, his everything. Yeah, that kid over there, he wants to apply to UA. Izuku would look at him like, "You bastard." The teacher would have a smug look on his face before saying, "Oh, and of course, the lovely prodigy of our class, Bakugo Katsuki, also wants to go to UA." The entire class would applaud Bakugo. Bakugo, give me a moment. Anyway, let us continue. Yeah, so Bakugo would go on his rant about being the best and blah 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 blah. And also, well, you know, he would do the whole threatening Izuku thing. You know, burning his notebook. Time skip, end of class. Bakugo would do his entire shtick and tell Izuku to take a swan dive off a roof if he wants a better quirk. Deku would walk home dejectedly, as he would be attacked by the sludge villain and saved by the number one hero himself, All Might, aka Toshinori Yagi, aka Inko's husband. But Izuku is entirely unaware of this. So, yes, he would cling onto All Might's leg as he's about to jump away and ask him desperately if he can be a hero. All Might, a man who really hasn't taken a fond liking to Izuku, but doesn't hate him either. Just kind of neutral. He exists, in All Might's opinion. All Might would just tell him no, he can't. This would shatter Izuku's heart. The one man who he thought who would say he can become a hero, says he couldn't. Anyway, that night, Izuku would get home. Inko's out drinking with her friends. And well, Izuku would prepare them all dinner like he usually does. Now remember, in this what if, Izumi's a prodigy. And so she's like a year ahead of where she should be. Yeah. She's a year ahead of where she should be. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going for with that one. Still too young for, like, UA. She's, like, 11. Wait, how old is she? Zuko's 15. So she's 12. Yeah, she's 12. So she's a grade above. So by the time she's 14, she'll be, yeah. Anyway, yes, they would all eat together, except for Zuko, who would eat on the couch. All Might and, well, Izumi would compliment Inko, saying how good the meal is. Deku would mumble to himself that he made it, no one really paying attention to what he says. Anyway, yeah. Time skip. Like 12 o'clock that night. Everyone is asleep, except for Zuko, who would get up, walk up, and go to the roof of the apartment building they live on. He would step by the ledge, falling off. And, well, in this what if, the apartment building that Izuku lives at has that Victorian-style fence, and so thus he would get impaled through the neck. The white-haired girl who was looking through Izuku's memories would jump back at, the feeling of falling and getting impaled. But then she would realize something and go up to him. Using her quirk again, she would realize that he's still making memories. He has the memories of her walking to him and activating her quirk on him. So she would quickly check, his memories to make sure she wasn't seeing things and see that he is indeed still making memories, which means he's still alive. So she would activate her quirk, seeing what Deku's quirk is. Her second quirk. She would see what Izuku's quirk is, this quirk being called the shimmer. Now, what this quirk does is it essentially allows the user to produce specialized cells, which act like, well, his body emits an energy which actively distorts the things around him. For example, if he's in an area long enough, trees made out of, let's say, lead could start to grow, or bears could sprout wings, so on and so forth. Another thing of his quirk is he's able to produce a unique cell that's able to consume other creatures like a swarm of very small piranhas that are able to rip through things and eat them. And what these cells do is they provide energy for Izuku, along with getting him new genetic material to work with. Deku can be killed, and you can burn him with fire. Fire tends to be the best option, but his quirk, has ways to get around death. Like him being impaled, the quirk can forcefully make it so that new veins grow, so that the upper and lower body can still get blood between each other, and forcefully seal off the veins that have been damaged, so that they can be repaired and rerouted around the spike, like what he did there. Now, I just need to explain a few more things about the quirk. Now, if you were to, fully destroy his body, he can still recover from it. He just needs a lot of energy, and it'll be very slow. He has a healing factor, but that factor is slow because it's him forcefully making his cells, do replaced limbs. Forcefully expanding his body so that new limbs can grow. So, if you were to leave him, as a puddle or a pool of blood, it could take him years to months, depending on how many resources are available. What I mean by resources is organic flesh. Things that can be eaten to speed up the process. Along with that, he's able to, kill things and take aspects from them and add them to himself. Like the the ability for photosynthesis from plants. So let's say you turn him into a puddle. He would be able to essentially turn himself into a plant so he can accumulate enough energy to remake his body. Everything with the quirk is a balancing act of energy and trying to get more. Now, the white-haired girl would smile before placing her hand on Izuku's cheek and saying, you have a pretty good quirk, I would say, and, well, you look pretty cute yourself. She would jump up using a enhanced jump quirk, pulling Izuku off the spike before, landing back down, carrying him bridal style. She would say, "Allow me to introduce myself, Izuku. My name is Melissa. No, Victoria. Yes, Victoria. Victoria. Or as she's more commonly known, the daughter of All for One. Yes, you thought it was All for One himself. Well, herself, technically, but no, it's his daughter." uh, yep. Oh, I'm back. Anyway, yes. Zuku's body would twitch before, well, His destroyed vocal cords would fix themselves as he would say, "How do you know my name?" She would smile before saying, "I know what they did to you. I looked through your memories and I do think myself that what they did was not fair. Hmm. Judging someone based off their quirk, something they can't control, or you can't control more like it, is just not a good thing to do. So why don't you help me? Help me get rid of people like that. Help me change the world, as you would say." Zuko would be quiet for a second before saying, "If we do, could you carry me to the nearest, Kasudan stand?" The girl would nod before walking off while saying, "Oh, do you like being carried? Well, once we are working together to change this world, you're going to have to also carry me sometimes." Zuko's face would kind of turn red at that, as the girl would giggle. Them arriving at a Katsudan stand on the side of the road, Deku would just sort of eat a lot. He lost a boatload of blood. Also, his blood glows like his hair and his eyes. But yeah, he lost a large amount of blood before his quirk activated. Before his quirk manifested and saved him. So he just needs some extra food in him to get his energy up. The girl would watch him eat with her head on her hands. Zuko would look at her before asking, "Aren't you also gonna have something?" "Oh, no, 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 no. I have already eaten tonight, and well, you know. Oh, I don't quite think I have my wallet on me, so you can just eat." Deku would ask her, "Okay, if you were to eat, what would you eat?" "Oh, she would point at something on the menu, saying that it looked appetizing. Deku would order one of those and give it to her, saying, "It's on me. Thanks for the whole snapping me out of that whole stupid thing." He would say, giving a weak smile. The girl this time, not the girl, Victoria. Yeah, Victoria. This time would blush before thinking to herself, "Fuck, he's cute. Why is he cute? He has such an odd quirk, but why is he cute?" She would take the food before thanking him and digging in. Time skip a few weeks. The Midoriya family would notice that a lot of their meals have begun being stopped, have not been made, and the food that Inko makes is different. It tastes different, and it honestly tastes worse. On top of them noticing all these things, they would notice that the house is not clean, they would notice that, well, everything's not in order like it used to be, and they would also notice, finally, that Izuku's not around. Them all realizing what had transpired. All of them in unison realizing that Deku was doing everything in the house, and they treated him like shit. And considering that outside they saw one of the one of the fence pieces covered in glowing blood, one can assume the worst. Bakugo would be hit by this because, suicide baiting, and also Izuku. Also, yeah. Izuku was his old best friend, and, well, the fact that he possibly actually jumped because of him hit him hard in a spot in his heart that he didn't even know he still had. And so thus he would begin to miss Izuku. We cut to Izuku, who's just chilling with Victoria. Izuku would look at her before saying, "Don't you have like your own little group or anything? The two of them are just chilling in Victoria's apartment." Victoria would say, "No, that's my father's group. Uh, however, however, yes, you are the first person I've recruited. The other people you would assume would be here were my father's recruiters, recruited by my father." Deku would nod before taking out a sheet and saying, "Okay, how should the jobbing arrangement work? Like, I work these hours, you work these hours, or..." She would just put her hand on Izuku's shoulder before saying, "Uh, I'd prefer we talk about this later." Uh, she would get closer to him, right up against his ear, before saying, in an interesting tone of voice, "I'd much rather we spend some time together." Deku's face would instinctively turn red as as Victoria's hand would go on his chest, go down. We cut back to the Midoriyas and the Bakugos, well, technically the Yagis in this what if, who are actively searching for Deku, putting up lost posters, filing, missing reports. And, well, he has a weak quirk, very weak, in the eyes of the public, so he might as well be quirkless. His entire shtick is he glows in the dark. He's a glorified nightlight. So, yes. They would just kind of put his case on the back burner. Anyway, we cut to Shigaraki, like for the 32nd time that month, walking to Victoria's house with a bouquet of flowers, knocking on the door, trying to, get her to go on a date with him. Him checking through the peephole and seeing Victoria and Izuku, how do I say this in a way that YouTube will not kill me? Victoria laying on Izuku, the both of them naked. That's the best I can do. He would just kind of pause for a second before, saying, he would back up and say to himself, I should not have drank the spoiled milk in the fridge. Good grief, I'm seeing things. Give me a moment. He would walk back to All for One's base, the bar, and say to Kurogiri, "Kurogiri, I am seeing things. You told me not to drink the spoiled milk. I did it anyway, and now I'm seeing things. Do you have anything to help?" Ugh, I'm feeling a bit queasy. He would just kind of throw up on the ground. Cut back to Izuku and Victoria, with the two of them just kind of passed out on the couch. Victoria being held for the literal first time in her life. Alpha One's not the best father, as you could guess. And she quite likes the affection. Yeah, she's a fan of cuddling, apparently. So, yes. Anyway, how they would get money is, well, time skip a week. Victoria and Izuku are going over possible ways of, them getting money. Deku saying that he knows how to DJ. And his quirk is, glow in the dark, so the two of them have the brilliant idea of starting a club. So they would do that. As a villain organization, they are naturally going to need a lot more funding than what they have. So Victoria would buy a decently sized place, drinks, tequila, uh, marijuana, and also something weird called super marijuana that Izuku made with his quirk. Yeah, he's beginning to use his quirk. Now, this super marijuana is a combination of. Think of it like. You know how meth is grown in a lab? And you also know how I mentioned Izuku's quirk can have him start making trees made out of lead? He would combine it with a coca plant. Yes, fun fact, coca plants can make cocaine. Yes, you heard me right. The very common plant in America that you see in everyone's garden. The leaves of the plant can make crack. You would combine it with a bit of that, a bit of meth, and a bit of marijuana to create the most powerful drug in existence. The club would become an instant hit because of the super marijuana. There's also a bit of weed in there, just to add on to it. And well, it's a new drug, so no one can really, no one can really put it under, it's a brand new drug, so thus, like, it's an entirely new species of plant, so thus people can't really shut the place down because the plant is not in the records. So, yes, they would start a club, Izuku taking on the persona of Shimmer. Yes, the name of his quirk. And also, yes, this is what he looks like. Victoria would just kind of be like the club head boss, just the person sitting in the penthouse constantly. He- she finds it quite amusing to just sit there and use a traditional Japanese fan and wave at herself. She feels cool sitting there, and it amuses her. Anyway, yes. I know this is a weird point to leave off, I'm aware, but, I'm kind of running out of time for right now. You know what? Nah, I think I can continue for a little bit longer. A year would pass, Bakugo would get into UA, but he still hasn't forgotten about what he did to Deku and just hopes he is alive, hopes that the blood was just some kind of accident or something that, like, he's hoping that the blood wasn't actually his blood but just glowing ink. And he hopes that Zuko just ran away from home and he can find him and he can rescue him and he can be there for him. He can be his best friend Kakchan again. And Zuko can be his best friend Zuzu again. Yes, I know, weird name, weird nickname. The two of them can be just like when they were kids. At least this is what Bakugo's hoping. He feels like he was asleep in a dream and he only woke up when Izuku went missing. And he has been kicking himself every single day for what happened. Now, multiple heroes would be discharged to the club, including Aizawa. The place would be playing loud music, there would be a weird glowing moss on the walls that seemed to sporadically change color. It would just be absolute chaos. People would be smoking the super marijuana like no tomorrow. And the plant looks weird. It looks like a toupee. Yes. No, the plant and its leaves grow in the shape of a mustache. Because his quirk is just weird like that. Aizawa, not knowing what the stuff is, would smoke it, then he would pass out, and then he would wake up in a dumpster with a sombrero. Oh, he would wake up in a dumpster with a sombrero. Oh, Oh, and a mustache painted on his face. Uh, you know those, like, things that I can't remember its name. You know, the thing that Cal Kestis is famous for wearing. You know, the casual stereotype clothing. He's wearing one of those. He has a mustache drawn on him with permanent marker. He's holding a bottle of liquor in one hand and a vibrator in the other. He would wake up, look out the look down the alley he's in, and realize he's in Mexico. Yes, that's how high he got. He passed out and ended up in Mexico. He would look next to him and see Present Mike, buck-ass naked, sitting next to him. Aizawa would just silently go, "Fuck." As Present Mike in his sleep would say, "You know it, baby." Aizawa looking at him again before questioning what they did last night. Uh. Anyway, the two of them have begun raking up a lot of cash. And, well, they can do a lot now with it. You know, as Victoria standing on her own feet, and wants to make something of herself. You know, not live in her father's shadow. Make a world that's just better because, well, if I'm being honest, she was also discriminated against. Anyway, let's get into that conversation. Azuku would just kind of be, like, after the club's closed, would just be standing there, out on the balcony of the building, you know, smoking just a normal cigarette. His lungs are kind of just spaces at this point. They serve no real purpose since, you know, he's gained the ability to breathe through his skin. Yes, like a reptile. And here's an extra pair of, like, 3 inside of him. He'll be fine. But yeah, he's smoking a cigarette as Victoria would walk up and would walk up from behind him and, well, hold him from, well, once again, behind. Would, you know, give him a hug from behind before saying, "You know why I, you know, woke you up when you impaled yourself?" Zuku would look at her before saying, "Why is that?" She would look at him before saying, "Because I know how it felt. You know, the quirk to steal other people's quirks. It's quite, you know, something that people will just be naturally inclined to feel. Yeah. I wasn't even allowed to touch people. And I had to wear a hazmat suit like I was radioactive. It sucked. And anytime I tried to get close to someone, everyone always were always were like, "Oh my goodness, she's coming near me. She's trying to steal my quack. Ah, she's gone rogue." I mean, I guess that's why they gave me the nickname of the, you know, demon princess. People suck. Deku would nod before patting her on the head and saying, "Hey, at least we have each other. And well, would you look at this? We have enough money to do whatever the hell we want." Well, not. Well, we don't have enough money to, you know, we don't have enough money to change the world. There's not enough money whatsoever in the whole wide world to do that. "So, what you plan on doing?" Deku would ask, tilting his head a bit. Victoria would let go of him before standing up, like fully upright, and saying, "Get people. People who can help us with our goal of making a better world. A world where the unique and the where people like us, the unique and the misunderstood, can finally see the light of day. A world which is just flat out better than this old sucky one." Deku would now be the one holding her from behind, saying, his mouth getting real up close to her ear, saying, "I'll be with you every step of the way, and also every thrust." Victoria would turn red before looking back at him with like a nosebleed before saying, "It was one time." "Well, let's make it two," would be Deku's response. Victoria somehow getting even redder as Deku would get close up to her and kiss her on the cheek. Anyway, yes, that was cute. Anyway, goodbye, my lovely, lovely audience. I hope you enjoyed. I know I sure did. This was definitely a fun what if to do. Anyway, goodbye, my lovely, lovely audience. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye! And before you ask, yes, I'm continuing the Han Tengu what if. Like in a few days. Bye-bye!